Hello, fellow bibliophiles, and welcome back to Blatantly Bookish. I hope your month of August has been wonderful and that you read some really great books. Today, I'm going to share with you the books that I read in the month of August. So I only read 3 books in the month of August, which isn't so great for me, but I read some really good books, and of course, that's what really counts. Well, the first book I finished in August was Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. This book was so much fun to read, but it's definitely not Gaskell's best or most polished book. It has very little plot and is basically a character study of a town. That's not to say that the town is a character, exactly, but the entirety of the book is all about capturing the spirit and the rhythm of this quaint little English country town called Cranford. The community is ruled by old-fashioned habits and dominated by female friendships, which is really interesting in and of itself. And even though this book may seem like a quaint little nothing of a tale, in true Gaskell form, it touches on subjects of feminism and the implications of class and empire. So if you like Gaskell, I'd highly recommend it. The next book I read in the month of August, and probably my favorite book for the month of August, was An Unrestored Woman by Shobha. This is a book of interconnected short stories that focus on the displacement of people after India and Pakistan became 2 separate countries. It's a book with ever-shifting borders, with stories that center in India and Pakistan, as well as in the US and Italy and England. I just want to read you the introduction, like the introductory page, which gives you some more of the historical context of the stories, because I think it's really interesting, and it's just a little tidbit of history that I didn't know before. In August 1947, the decline of the British Empire on the Indian subcontinent led to the formation of 2 new sovereign states, India and Pakistan. The event, commonly known as partition, led to the establishment of Pakistan as an Islamic republic with a majority Muslim population, while India emerged as a secular state with a Hindu majority. The hastily drawn boundary between the 2 countries, called the Radcliffe Line, resulted in a colossal transfer of people between the 2 nations. Although estimates vary, it is believed that 8 to 10 million people were displaced from their homes and villages, with primarily Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs seeking refuge in what they hoped would be the relative safety of the religious majority. This mass movement of people incited numerous acts of violence on both sides, with nearly 1 million people killed in the migratory effort. The transfer of populations between India and Pakistan is considered the largest peacetime migration in all of human history. As with the majority of conflicts, women and children during the partition of India and Pakistan were often the most vulnerable. The specific brutalities inflicted on women were legion, kidnappings among them. Officially, it is estimated that 50,000 Muslim women in India and 33,000 Hindu and Sikh women in Pakistan were abducted. Added to this, many who were abducted were forcibly returned to families who in some instances no longer wanted them, considering them impure. In 1949, India legislated the return of these women with the Abducted Persons Recovery and Restoration Act, though the commonly used term for these women is recovered women. I have chosen to refer to them as restored. The distinction may seem trivial, but it is necessary, for I believe that while the recovery of a person is possible, the restoration of a human being to her original state is not. So I just wanted to share that little author's note background with you, because I read that and I was like, this is going to be excellent. And it was. So my favorite stories were the titular story, which of course is An Unrestored Woman, also Kavitha and Mustafa, and Blindfold. So the story of An Unrestored Woman is about widowhood, love, and companionship, and how an event can alter one's life and outlook forever. That one really tied into that passage, that last sentence that I was reading, I think. Kavitha and Mustafa is about people who are traveling when their train is robbed and looted, and basically what ensues. And Blindfold is the story of a woman starting a brothel. She buys other women, well, kidnaps them, actually, really. It's about resilience, power, freedom, and captivity. I thought this collection not only dealt with such interesting concepts, but was excellently executed, and the subtlety in the way that the stories linked together was just exquisite. If you like short stories, or even if you don't, I cannot recommend this book enough. I could keep talking about it for ages, but I will not, because I will go on to the next book, which is the last book that I finished in the month of August, and that was The Waves by Virginia Woolf. I don't know how I feel about this book. I really don't. I started reading it in a physical copy and I loved it, but I was reading it so slowly, less than 20 pages per day, I'd say, and I was picking up lines that I loved everywhere and post-iting the whole book. The language was so gorgeous, I really couldn't help myself. But then it was due back to the library, and that was before I finished it. I was only about a third of the way in, and I decided to listen to it on audiobook. Now, I could not get into this book on audiobook. Woolf's writing is lyrical and beautiful and really dense. If I were to pick one of the worst books you would ever listen to on audiobook, this would definitely make that list. My comprehension and appreciation of the book once I switched to audiobook decreased so much that I don't even know if I should claim that I read this book. You'll notice that I haven't even given you a synopsis of this book yet, and that's because the plot isn't really that important in this book. It's a pretty loose plot. It's about a group of friends dealing with the loss of one of their other friends, but it's told in sections that are broken up by descriptions of the passage of a day on a beach. So as the day goes on, the characters age as well. It's such an interesting concept and a fascinating book, but it's really dense, and I did feel like I wished that not only had I read it all in print, but that I had also taken a class about Virginia Woolf and read it in a classroom setting, because I think that's what I needed to really get a better understanding of this text. Yes, I just want to share two of my favorite passages, which are obviously from the first third of this book, when I was actively post-iting beautiful passages. Everything became softly amorphous, as if the china of the plate flowed and the steel of the knife were liquid. Meanwhile, the concussion of the waves, breaking, fell with muffled thuds, like logs falling on the shore. I don't know, there's just something so beautiful about imagery like that, where the sturdiness is contrasted so perfectly with the fluidity, and that which becomes solid is liquid, and the waves, which are supposed to be liquid, take on this heavy, earthly quality. So that's just so beautiful, and yeah. Oh, I can't help myself. One more, okay? But when we sit together, close, said Bernard, we melt into each other with phrases. We are edged mist. We make in unsubstantial territory. So those passages are just so beautiful. I love that concept of people interacting with each other as phrases melting into each other, as our boundaries as a sort of mist, and it's just so beautiful. Virginia Woolf is brilliant, and I could probably study her for the rest of my life and still not understand everything that she has to say. So that's it for what I read in the month of August. Oh, before I go, I do want to say that the winners of the giveaway I was doing have been selected and emailed. Thank you to everyone who entered and participated. And really, thank you, as always, to everyone who watches this channel. I hope you have a spectacular day and a terrific reading month, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye!